Welcome to the 2017 Virtual Summer School Series webinar sponsored by the NAEPSDP and the Program and Staff Development Committee of the Southern Region Program Leadership Network. Hosted here at the University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service, I'm Julie Robinson with Arkansas Extension. And in today's webinar, we've got Dr. Stephen Brown and Dr. Donna Peterson joining us. He is I'm not going to mispronounce your regions of Alaska. So he is just a district agriculture agent and professor for the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Stephen is the president of the Journal of Extension and is past editor of the Journal of the National Association of County Agricultural Agents. His subject matter specialties include high latitude agriculture, agricultural engineering, and geospatial technology. Also joining us is Donna Peterson. Donna is an associate extension professor at Mississippi State University in the School of Human Sciences. She's a program planning and evaluation specialist for Mississippi State Extension. She has served as the editor of the Journal of Human Sciences and Extension since its inception. And so Stephen and Donna are going to share with us where and how to get published, focusing mostly on their respective journals. So Stephen, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get us started today.
All right. Well, thank you, Julie. And just so you know, I serve the Matanuska district. It's named after the Matanuska Glacier and the Matanuska River that run through the middle of the Matanuska Valley. So anyway, like Julie said, I have the honor of serving this year as president of the Journal of Extension. The Journal of Extension is the flagship journal of all of Extension. We publish 6 times a year, and we have a relatively quick turnaround time because everything is submitted electronically. We are very well read. We have 3,000 plus unique website hits each day, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but it averages out to about 3,000. We were one of the first scholarly journals in academia to go exclusively online in 1994. I remember when we did that, it was predicted that that would be the end of the Journal of Extension because no one would read it. It turns out we were the trendsetter because now if you're a journal and you're not online, nobody is reading you. We have a relatively low acceptance rate of about 27%. Don't let that scare you. I'll explain more about that later. Many of our authors are first-time writers. And they're not getting guidance from anyone. They're just submitting straight into the journal. The great thing about the Journal of Extension is we're here to offer a lot of help to new writers. We also host the National Job Bank. That's where most of the extension positions across the country are posted. I encourage extension faculty and educators all over the country to check out the Job Bank. On a weekly basis. We have a saying at the Journal of Extension that the best time to look for a job is when you don't need one. I know I've held 3 extension positions in my 25-year career, and 2 of those I found at the National Job Bank when I did not need a job. So the website for the Journal of Extension is easy to remember. It's just www.jo.org. Some more about the Journal of Extension. It's a refereed journal for all extension educators, faculty, staff. It's a great peer-reviewed outlet for authors. Oftentimes, extension agents and counties don't have many journal options to choose from because they're doing applied work and applied research rather than original research. It's a great opportunity to improve your resume or curriculum vitae. My advice to young extension personnel out there, you may not always be a county agent, okay? One of these days, some of you are going to be deans and presidents, and having a publication record to put on your resume or curriculum vitae is one of the most valuable things you can do, especially when you're not expected to publish. If you're in a state where promotion and tenure is not in the mix for your appointment, it's still a good idea to have publications that you can put down because, again, you may not always be in that state. And then finally, the Journal of Extension is a great article, is a great journal to read because it gives you ideas for how to improve your own work. So why read Joe? Reading Joe is a great way to get ideas from things people are doing all across the country. I always say that if you are even a remotely effective extension person, you're doing something that deserves to be published in the Journal of Extension. The key to it is think to yourself, the article that you want to submit to the Journal of Extension, how will it make me a better extension person? So it has to answer the question of why do I care and why will it help me? Of course, it should expand the knowledge base of extension. Two of the best submission categories to read are ideas at work and tools of the trade. I'll talk more about those in a little bit. The Journal of Extension is free. It is paid for by your state extension system based upon the number of full-time equivalent employees in your state. And like I said, it's available online. So why write for Joe? It is recognized as scholarly work. And if you've been around extension recently, the scholarship of extension is something you'll hear more and more from our administrators. The great thing about the Journal of Extension is internationally it is recognized as the #1 journal of its kind in the world. So it has a tremendous impact factor. So publishing in Journal of Extension, well, it has a tremendous impact factor. It's a great vehicle to share ideas in innovative education. It demonstrates program impacts, and because it's free to everyone, whether or not you're in extension, many people outside of extension ranks read it. It's a great opportunity to improve your writing skills. People that publish in the Journal of Extension often go on to publish in many other journals. The Journal of Extension is a journal, though, that will help you improve your writing because, unlike many other journals, we will give you tips and we will give you feedback on your articles. There's 5 article categories for the Journal of Extension. The 2 most prestigious categories are the feature article and the research in brief categories. Those are reviewed by the editor. If they pass the editorial review, they are then passed on to 3 anonymous peer reviewers who will then evaluate and vote on your submission. The 2 lesser categories are ideas at work and tools of the trade. Ideas at work are reviewed by the editor and 1 outside peer reviewer. So it's not as rigorous, it's not as difficult to get an article submitted to ideas at work. The easiest of the 2 are tools of the trade and commentary because those 2 are reviewed only by the editor. If the editor likes them, the editor will then give you the go-ahead and they will be published. I would encourage you all to think about the commentary category. This is an opportunity where you can express your opinion on a particular subject matter. And actually, it's an area that we get the fewest number of submissions. So you stand a very high likelihood of getting accepted if you submit a commentary. Okay, how do you submit? Everything is done electronically online. We don't care if there are multiple authors. I will say this, once you get beyond 4 co-authors, the editor is really going to question whether or not you need that many authors on there. So all authors need to have made a significant contribution to the paper. If you contributed in a minor way to the article, then that should be listed as an acknowledgement in the paper. The style is APA 6th edition. You can learn more about how to do the layouts and tables and graphics in the instructions for author, and you see the web link right there. There's extensive information at that web link on the screen on how to submit. and let me encourage you, follow it to the letter, okay? You can always email the editor if you have questions, but the simple thing is follow the instructions and you'll be fine. So some tips for writing for Joe. I would encourage you to go to the Journal of Extension and look at the kind of articles that are published there, because it will most likely give you ideas for things that you're doing that are worth publishing. As I said before, follow the submission guidelines. Where authors get in trouble is when they stray away from those submission guidelines. Again, you're writing for a broad extension audience. If you're doing something like a corn variety trial, this is not the journal for you. A corn variety trial would be beneficial to just agricultural extension agents and not extension as a whole. Keep in mind that this is going to be read online, so short paragraphs with not much gray space is important. Your article should have a clear focus. One of the things that often gets authors in trouble is they tend to wander around. People will ask me, well, you know, if the word limit is 2,000 words, do I have to get up near 2,000 words? If you can say it in 1,000 words, even better. Okay. Those word guidelines are maximums, not minimums. Use an effective title and preferably as short a title as possible. A lot of people seem to think that in journals you got to have a really long title with a hyphen in there. I would encourage you to keep it to 5 words or less if you can. And finally, this last point, invite a colleague to review your paper before you submit it. I would encourage you to find that one colleague at your institution who hates you and ask them to review it, okay? Because you want as critical a review as possible before you submit your paper, okay? Once they rip it up as much as possible, okay, then send it. I guess what I'm saying is don't let your mother review it, okay? The way the review process works, the editor will review it first. If the editor likes it, then if it's in the feature or research and brief categories, it will go on to the peer reviewers who will then look at it. It's a blind review. The only person who knows who submitted this will be the editor. And what the editor will do when it goes on to the peer reviewers is blank out any information that would give someone, or for the most part, give someone a clue as to who you are. There's established criteria on how this is reviewed, and you can find that on our website. There's 4 recommendations that will come out of the reviewers. The one you're hoping for is accepted for publication, okay? That means the paper is perfect as it stands. Very few people get that rating. If you get it, pat yourself on the back, because there's almost always something or a reviewer wants you to clarify or elaborate more on. The second category is accepted for publication contingent on minor revision. That's where most of the papers that are accepted by the Journal of Extension fall. There's some little thing in there that a reviewer wanted you to clarify or elaborate on. The third category is major revision and resubmission required. That means your paper needs a lot of work. It's considered good and a good idea for the journal, but there's some major issues that, well, need a lot of work. And then the one nobody wants is rejected for publication. I'll say this about the Journal of Extension, and this applies to every other scholarly journal. I myself, as an author, has been turned down more times than a bedspread at the Holiday Inn, okay, by journals. If that happens to you, it's not the end of the world. Bear in mind, reviewers are human. You may have drawn 3 reviewers that got up, on the wrong side of the bed this morning. So look at what they say. They'll have recommendations, and consider how would I make this paper work, and talk to the editor as well. Okay, one of the things that we would like to invite you to do is to consider being a peer reviewer for the Journal of Extension. It's a 3-year term. you'll average probably about 12 papers to review a year. If you don't feel competent in reviewing them, you can always send them back to the editor and say, I don't know enough about this particular subject matter area. They will be, the articles you'll receive will be based upon your subject matter areas that you list in your application. To be a peer reviewer, you need to be published in a couple of referee journals or similar publications. Similar publications would be peer-reviewed extension bulletins that you've written. We are always in need of peer reviewers. And by the way, those of you all that are in states where promotion and tenure is part of the mix, being a Journal of Extension reviewer is considered national service. The other requirements are that you have excellent writing and grammar skills. You do not have to be an active extension professional. You can be retired as well to be a peer reviewer. Finally, I'll finish up here and just tell you about the National Job Bank again. If you are looking for a job, it's free. You don't even have to register. You can just go in and look at the articles or look at the jobs that are available nationally. If you're an employer, it's a very quick and inexpensive way to advertise jobs. It's much cheaper than, say, the Journal of Higher Education to advertise a position. And it'll give out daily alerts when relevant jobs become available. For search committees and employers, it allows you to target specifically to extension professionals or people that are hoping to become extension professionals. It will greatly widen your applicant pool. I know here at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, we always advertise in it, and the majority of our successful applicants have been people that read the National Job Bank. And so here's the website. You can go to joe.org and you'll see the link to the website. In fact, I would encourage you after this the webinar is over, go check it out and see if there's any jobs. Who knows, your next promotion may be waiting for you. And finally, you can always email me directly. One of the things I take great pleasure in is helping new authors, whether you're writing for the Journal of Extension or any other journal. Having been a former editor myself, one of my greatest joys is to see someone submit for the first time and have that article submitted. So anyway, thank you. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email.
All right, thank you, Stephen, for sharing with us. So Donna is here as the editor of the Journal of Human Sciences and Extension Journal, and she is going to share with us a little bit more about it. It's a younger journal, and so Donna's going to tell us all about it.
Okay, so I'm glad you all joined us. Everybody's familiar with JOE. The Journal of Human Sciences and Extension is a little bit newer. So here is our web address, and I'll show that to you multiple times throughout. So a little bit of background. The Journal of Human Sciences and Extension was, or is, sponsored and published by Mississippi State University School of Human Sciences. We are also a free journal. We have no submission fees, no review fees, no publication fees. The editor, the associate editor, the reviewers are all volunteer. So the journal, again, is basically funded by our school here at Mississippi State. We published our first issue back in June of 2013. So again, you can see that we're pretty new, pretty young. We also are a peer-reviewed journal. We're an open access journal. And again, we're purely online. We did have, for anyone who's familiar, I'll talk a little bit about our special issues, but there was one issue that was published online, and then there was a little bit of funding from an organization to publish a print version for some people, but we are meant to be online. So that's where you'll find us. This is what our homepage looks like. So when you go to our website, this is what you'll see, so you'll know you're in the right place. Across the top, you see the different pages that you can go to. The current issue tab includes our current issue, the articles from our current issue. They can all be downloaded individually. We've got a tab about the journal. All of our instructions for authors are in another tab. Obviously, past issues are found under that heading. And then our editorial board and reviewers are listed under that tab. Contact the editor. It's just how you get a hold of me if you have questions. And then if you'd like to subscribe to the journal and be notified when new issues come out, you can click on that subscribe button and sign up. And then we'll notify you when a new issue comes out. We'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so this is the list of topics that the journal publishes in. We are not primarily an extension journal. Obviously, a majority of our articles do have an extension focus, but we're also broader. We're general human sciences and extension. In all of these topics, human development, family studies, agricultural education, leadership development, extension 4-H, health and wellness, apparel, textiles and merchandising, ag econ, nutrition, family resource management, and program planning and evaluation. What's nice about the Journal of Human Sciences and Extension is that because it is not completely extension focused, extension folks can read it and learn about other ideas that are happening outside of extension. And then they can bring those ideas back to extension, and then vice versa. People from outside extension can read about things that are happening in extension and take those ideas back to their work. So we're a little bit broader than just extension. One of the key things for JHSE is, one of our main goals is to bridge research and practice. So all manuscripts have to include practical implications, not just, a 2-sentence cursory, here's how you can apply the information, but we want you to be serious and very intentional about how your work can be applied to practice. That's very, very critical. Okay. We have multiple types of articles, different categories. They're listed here. Original research, those refer to your standard, literature review, methodology section, empirical research, evaluation, things like that. Brief reports are similar to original research, same idea, they're just shorter. So whereas an original research article would be submitted at about 20 pages, a brief report is going to be 9 pages. Our practice and pedagogy section, those talk about processes and outcomes related to both formal and informal teaching, whether extension work, classroom work, it kind of runs the gamut. Any of that practice and pedagogy, formal or informal programming, classroom teaching. The theory category, we don't get very many submissions in that category. That's for kind of those strong, creative, cutting edge manuscripts that describe some type of emerging theory and also include an application piece. Emerging scholarship is a special category that we have for graduate students or people who have completed their terminal degree within the past year. So again, we like to get some of those new people an opportunity to submit and publish. So they've got their own little category that they can submit to. Our to the point articles are very to the point, 150 words, boom. Something very key, easy, people can take, use. Our to the point articles are editorial board reviewed. So it's usually myself and I pull in another associate editor and say, hey, what do you think? The other articles in the other categories that I've mentioned so far are all peer reviewed. And then we've got book and media reviews. That's another category. We have our very first book review that'll be coming out in our October issue. So again, we don't get very many submissions in that category either. So I'm kind of excited about that. Okay. So I mentioned special issues. So far, the journal has published 2 special issues, one in June of 2015 that was focused on the Cooperative Extension Program Development Model and how it can be adapted for the changing context of extension. Nancy Franz and Barry Garst served as co-editors for that issue. With our special issues, we have somebody kind of propose an idea to us and then serve as a guest editor because it may not be my specialty area. And so we want a guest editor to kind of lead the process. That also gives them experience in kind of editing an issue. So they take care of the whole review process, working closely with me, and then we finish it up here and get it published. In June of 2017, we published a special issue on urban extension, and Julie Fox was the editor, the guest editor for that issue. And that one was actually published a month early. It was published in May, and they had some funding to do some print copies of the issue to be distributed at the National Urban Extension Conference that was in May this year. And then we have an upcoming special issue that will happen next June that's going to highlight ECOP's commissioned extension framework for health and wellness implementation and scholarship. So those health implementation teams. And David Buys and Sonia Kukel are going to be the guest editors for that issue. That issue will also be published a month early, and they're hoping to have some funding for some print copies to coincide with the National Health Outreach Conference. So that's kind of fun. We get to do, it was a new twist to turn an online journal into a print journal for us when we did it back in June. And so it brings a lot of different issues to light. The nice thing about these special issues is even though they're focused on a special topic, it actually lets other readers out, potentially outside extension, people who might not ever read this type of an issue or this journal, it introduces them to JHSE and helps us expand our readership. So we're kind of a fan of those special issues too. Okay, so our review process, these little arrows kind of show how it works. Articles are submitted to me, the editor. We still do the old-fashioned email me the article, email me a cover letter. We don't have a fancy online portal like I know some journals do. We're not there yet. So you email me the article and your cover letter. I distribute it to the associate editor in the appropriate content area. And then that associate editor is going to find reviewers for your article. We ask in your cover letter, we ask you to suggest a couple of impartial reviewers, impartial being the key word. So don't recommend somebody from your same department, from your institution, somebody you've co-authored another manuscript with. Find somebody who you think will be very impartial and will provide some very good feedback for you. That's helpful for all of us as we're kind of starting out in this process. Once everything is reviewed, the reviewer's comments go back to the associate editor. The associate editor sends everything back to me. I put together all of the feedback from the reviewers, distribute that back to the authors along with the decision. We have the same 4 categories that Joe does. So we have accept contingent on minor revisions, major revisions, and then resubmit, and then a reject category as well. So there's a consistent theme. We try to get feedback back to authors within 3 months. It doesn't always happen. People's schedules are very busy, but we try very hard. It can be difficult to get reviewers. I've kind of been surprised at how it's getting harder and harder to get people to agree to review. When I attended new faculty orientation for myself here at Mississippi State, one of the presenters at orientation said he made it a policy to make sure he reviewed one manuscript for every manuscript he himself submitted. And I thought that was a really great idea. So I try to do that as well. You know, just be courteous. If you're wanting people to review your information, your manuscripts, hopefully you'll return the favor and review theirs. So here's my plug. You want a review for the journal? You can contact me or contact the associate editor in your specialty area. Let us know what those specialty areas are, and we will add you to our reviewer list. We'll probably ask for a VITA to make sure, again, that you've got some experience reviewing. There have been a few of our reviewers who have actually pulled graduate students in to review a manuscript with them, and that's been a really good idea. I think those graduate students, have really learned a lot, and it starts getting them into that whole manuscript submission and review process. Why should you review for the journal? Again, don't look at it as just another obligation, another project. Think of it as a way to learn more about our new journal. Again, it counts as service as well. And it's another publication outlet for your extension work. Since everybody here is extension, or at least they were when we started. We might have some other people on now that are non-extension. We're another source to publish your work. Okay, again, as I mentioned, we're a young journal. From back in 2013, we have had 261 new submissions. That did not include the invited articles for our special issues. So these were just freely submitted manuscripts. The most common content areas in which we receive manuscripts are listed here. Extension runs throughout most of the manuscripts. We have a 40% acceptance rate, which again, it's higher than the Journal of Extension, but again, we're also newer. And we give authors multiple times to revise and resubmit. I know some journals, say, you've got one shot. Here you go, here's your feedback, revise, resubmit. Either you do a good job and you're accepted, you didn't do a good job in that revision, and so sorry, see you later. There have been times that we have gone back and forth with authors 3 or 4 times, working on revisions, trying to help them improve their manuscript in order to get it published. So our goal is to share good work. We really want to share good work. So if we think your manuscript has merit, we're going to keep working with you until everybody's happy. Okay. So why would you want to publish in JHSE? Again, many of our articles have kind of a more empirical focus with practical application. The 2 categories in which we get our most submissions are original research and brief reports. I'd say we probably get about 3 original research manuscripts to every 1 in the other categories. I think our special issues are another reason to publish. Even though you may not have an article included in one of those special issues, again, it helps introduce the journal and extension work to non-traditional audiences. So it's another way to get extension's good work out there. Again, we're not just an extension journal. We're broad human sciences and extension. The length of our peer review process is another reason. Again, our goal is 3 months for feedback, and the multiple revision attempts that we allow would be another good reason to publish in our journal. When you kind of are instrumental in creating it, it does kind of become your baby. So I talk about we and us a lot with the journal. Okay, so a few tips. Again, when you submit your manuscript and you submit your cover letter, please recommend appropriate reviewers. We do have our own reviewers, we have our associate editors, they have people that they know, but we're always looking to expand that review panel because, as I mentioned earlier, it's difficult to get people to review. So again, think about those impartial reviewers who can give you good feedback. Be sure to follow our submission guidelines. Again, you can get those from our website. We also request APA format, and we ask that you mask or blind your identifying information. If you don't do that, we will either send it back to you and ask you to do it, or if there aren't too many things that need to be blinded, we'll do it for you. But we want to make sure that you get a fair, blind peer review. And do not be afraid to ask questions before you submit. I'm happy to answer whatever question I can. Feel free to contact me. My contact information will be on the very last slide. And then once your manuscript is accepted for publication, please meet the deadlines. Sometimes, as with all journals, we have a really short turnaround time for feedback or reviewing or getting a form back. But it really, really helps and eases the stress of all involved when you're able to meet those deadlines. Okay, so here is my contact information. Our website again, a little graphic that we use on our homepage for our journal. And that's my presentation.
All right, thank you, Donna. And now we're going to hop into our question portion, and we've got quite a few. So I'm just going to start at the beginning. One person stated that they've applied to be a reviewer for Joe, and they were not accepted. And part of the reason was that they haven't already published in Joe. Has that changed? Is publishing in Joe to be a reviewer still a requirement?
It is not a requirement. It's encouraged. We would like you to have published in Joe. Really what we want to see, though, is a diversity of publications.
All right. Our next question is, who makes up the membership of the Joe board and how are they selected?
The board of directors for the Joe board there's a representative from each extension professional organization. So for example, I'm on the Joe board representing Epsilon Sigma Phi. There's a member on the Joe board representing the National Association of County Agricultural Agents. There's one from the NAE 4-H. There's one from the Regional Extension Directors Association. So there's about 25 people on the board.
There's one from NAEPSDP on there too.
Brand new, yep.
Brand new. All right. Our next question is, recently articles that this person submitted to Joe have a long review period, about 6 months or more. Is there any mechanism to speed this up? Just kind of wondering, comparing Joe to other journals and their timelines.
This is a real problem we have with the Journal of Extension, and it's a twofold problem. The first problem is the vast number of submissions we get, okay? You figure on any given journal issue, we have about 25 articles. That means there were about 100 articles per issue submitted. So that translates into more than 600 submissions per year. Each one of those submissions will have at a minimum 3 to 4 emails from the editor. And we have a part-time editor. The other side of the problem is we only have about 75 peer reviewers, okay? What really slows it down are the peer reviewers who don't get their reviews in a timely fashion. I'll tell you this, one of the things you can do to endear yourself to an editor is to get things back quickly. One of the reasons I think my publication or successful publication record increased with the Journal of Extension before I was on the board was because I made sure I got my submissions back the same day I got them. That meant I became the pet of the then editor, okay? So I think she handled my submissions much more kindly after that.
All right, and our next question is who makes up the board for the JHSE and how are they selected?
Well, so when we initially started the journal, the editorial board was primarily people here from Mississippi State. Several of us got together. We liked the idea of a journal, and we said, hey, we can do this. Let's push forward and do this. Let's promote some more good work. Since then, we've had people rotate on and off, and so now we're getting broader representation from across the US. So essentially what we do is when somebody wants to kind of give up their position as associate editor, it looks like we're probably, at this point, we've got probably 2 or 3 year terms. Then we say, okay, can you recommend somebody who you think would be good? So we're not nearly as formal as Joe. Again, we're much newer. We're still working on things. So that's how we do it.
All right, and the next question is what are the word limitations for different articles submitted to Joe?
It depends upon the category. In research in brief and feature articles, I believe are limited to 4,000 words. The other categories are limited to 2,000, and then I think there's a 1,000 word limit on ideas at work. It's on our website though. The idea behind the Journal of Extension is that these are short, readable articles.
All right, and our next question, and this is for Donna, when you mentioned the page limitations on submitted articles, are those single or double-spaced pages?
Well, neither. Those are actually 1.15. We initially, when we started, we had the double-spaced, submit it double-spaced, good old APA format. And then when we actually convert it for publication, we would shift that spacing down to 1.15. And so over time, authors said, hey, can you make it a little easier on us? So we shifted our guidelines based on authors' suggestions. And so now it's like 20 pages at 1.15 line spacing.
All right. This one is for both of you. When do you think a journal impact factor will be assigned to Joe and JHSE?
Well, I'll start. We're actually going through the review process right now. The way we found out that we were the #1 rated journal in extension education was when we started that process, and we found our evaluation on a different evaluation scale. So it takes several years for that index to occur. Some schools put a higher relevance on it than others.
Okay, and for me to jump in, I have to say JHSE is too new. From my research, you've got to have been around for, I think it was 5 years. And so we've still got a little bit of time before we can apply to be considered to actually apply for an impact factor. So it's kind of, you say you want to be considered, and then they decide yes or no, we're going to consider you now, or we're going to have to wait. So it's going to be a while for JHSE.
Next question, if someone submits an article for the commentary section of Joe, is there some vetting process to ensure that the opinion expressed in the article has some sort of factual basis?
Well, the editor does the vetting, but the whole point of the commentary is this is an opportunity for you to say what you think. And I'll give you an example. One of the most effective commentaries we had a few years ago was an extension agent wrote a commentary on if you don't come up in the first 2 or 3 hits of a Google search, you don't exist. So she was making the argument that when e-extension does not come up in the first few Google hits, e-extension doesn't exist.
All right. Next question, what are some other journals or publications out there that would be appropriate for articles related to extension work? So we're kind of asking y'all to veer off of your away from your respective journals and toss out some ideas for other publications or journals where extension work is a good fit.
Well, I'll put on my hat for the National Ag Agents Association and promote the Journal of NACAA. It has an extremely short turnaround time from the time you submit the article until the time it goes through peer review and publication is 2.5 months. And it's published twice a year on June 1st and December 1st.
All right, Donna, did you want to add anything?
Sure. So I have not published here, but another journal that's been recommended to me, a little bit different for some of the more scientific-y type of extension articles. The Journal of Higher Education Outreach, I think. My understanding is that they're open to extension articles. And then things like the Journal of Youth Development, any of the evaluation journals, New Directions for Evaluation, they a few years ago actually published a special issue on extension evaluation. So there's a variety out there.
All right, and we have one comment. NAE4HA co-sponsors the Journal of Youth Development, so definitely applicable. Next question is, how important is the H index or the Hirsch index? What is the Joe and JHSE rating?
Well, like I was saying before, we're going through that evaluation right now. Some institutions put a great deal of value on it. Others do not. I know here at the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, we never asked that question. Oh, and like Donna was saying, it's not something you get overnight. They measure you over years. I think part of the problem is it's valued outside of extension. There's a great deal of weight put on it. Within extension, there's not much weight put on it. I would argue that journals like Donna's and the Journal of Extension are much more widely read, but may end up having a lower H index than some of the journals that are read by only a handful of people, but are considered very rigorous. So I guess the question comes down to is who's reading your stuff and who's using it.
I think that's an excellent point. That's great. I like that. I agree.
All right, thank you. That shows you how much I know about it, or else I would have known that question was basically the same. Our next one is for either of you. Do reviews of current policy count as original research or briefs? What category would they fit in? And are you interested in any of that? And to elaborate, the person who submitted this question said that the review is for understanding program development.
I know for the Journal of Extension, it could fall in either one of those categories. And that is something that we would highly encourage because that would be of very broad interest.
Right. I would agree as well. I mean, length is partly a determining factor for JHSE in terms of whether it would be original research or brief report. So 20 pages versus 9 pages kind of depends on that intensity of that analysis. But again, since we are so new, we are open to everything and trying to get out good work. So we would be interested as well.
So this one is going back to you, Stephen. It has to do with the National Ag Agents journal that you mentioned earlier. So if someone wanted to publish in the NACAA in December, what would their submission deadline be?
The submission for the December 1st issue, I believe, is going to be September 15th for the December 1st issue, and it'll be March 15th for the June 1st issue.
All right. And another question, any value in ResearchGate?
It's another way to get your stuff out there. I mean, to promote yourself and post your articles. More people can read them through there.
All right. So another question, some of the folks that have participated in webinars earlier this week have hopefully maybe been inspired to publish some of their older research. In your opinions, how old is too old to share in your journals? How far back is too far back to go?
It really boils down to relevance. Okay. I've seen stuff that's been years old that are really important. Okay. Let's say you found the cure to cancer and you figured it out 20 years ago. Well, that would be pretty important to publish now. Other things, generally speaking, I don't like to go back more than 5 years.
I would echo both of those comments.
I mean, if even, let's say you found the cure for cancer, okay, and you waited 20 years to publish it, that's still going to raise a lot of eyebrows.
Very true. One comment that was added by one of our participants is the Journal of NIE FCS and AAFCS are some options for FCS specialists and agents. So thank you for sharing that. And this will be our last question for the time that we've got left. What are some of the most common mistakes made in submissions?
They didn't proofread it. Here's the thing, having been a former editor, and I'm sure Donna will agree this, editors have this self-illusion as being God, okay? So you need to treat God like God. You treat the editor well, you proofread it. I don't know about you, Donna, but the thing that used to make me so mad as editor is when someone obviously didn't proofread their article. When you make that editor mad, then they make sure that it goes to the peer reviewers that are the toughest and the meanest. That's a little tongue-in-cheek, but there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know, when your reviewers are the ones who are giving you feedback, and there are several times I read, this person needs an editor. Somebody needs to proofread this work. There are so many typos. There are so many mistakes. And yeah, that does not make people happy. Make them happy and they'll like your work.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our presenters, and we hope that everyone has a great day.